Hit like and subscribe. You're watching the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel.
Peace, family. This is your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to Night School here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. We hold Night School, where we break down the most controversial subjects, the most engaged debates, the most interesting topics going on in the world today. And tonight is no different. We have so many things to talk about. First of all, I hope everyone had a great weekend. I hope everyone is breathing a little differently after some of the political developments that have gone on this weekend. We're going to get in depth in all of it. Of course, we're going to talk about the Affordable Care Act. We're going to talk about Democrats and what effectively amounts to them caving. We're going to talk about some of these new polls that came out. J.D. Vance versus Gavin Newsom. When people are thinking about 2028, those are the names that are coming up at the top of each ticket, and people are wondering what it looks like. We'll talk about what the results are, but we'll also talk about what it all means. And we got to talk about Kim Kardashian, y'all. This weekend I was not caping for her, but I was throwing her some bail on the failing the bar thing. But she's done something far more important, worth talking about, and that is opening 15 stores in Israel for SKIMS, her shapewear brand. So we're going to talk about all of that. But before we do that, I'm excited to talk with a good brother of mine, someone who's doing the work, someone whose work matters a great deal. And we're going to get to it, man. We're talking about a subject that's hitting every creator, every journalist, every organizer online, and that is the growing wave of digital racism and also digital censorship. Over the past few months, we've seen powerful voices deplatformed. We've seen accounts that have gotten shadow banned. We've seen truth tellers who have been silenced on every major platform, from X all the way to TikTok. What we're witnessing is not a random occurrence, though. It's systemic. As media and tech consolidation tightens, we have a handful of billionaires who now get to decide what gets heard, who gets erased, and which part of our culture gets monetized. The truth is, Black creativity, it fuels these platforms, all of them. But Black voices, ours is the first to be muted. My guest tonight is somebody who isn't just calling it out, he's building a solution. His name is Isaac Hayes III. He is the founder and CEO of Fanbase, the first social economy platform where users can post, where users can get paid, and most importantly, my favorite, where users can get their own equity. Give it up for my dear brother, Isaac Hayes III. My brother, so good to see you.
Good to see you too, man.
First of all, you know, you're one of the few voices out there that aren't just marketing a product, but you're advocating for, in my estimation, Black self-determination. Why is that so important to you?
Because without it, we don't stand a chance of escaping the wealth gap. Got to collaborate with one another. I love all my Black billionaire friends, but we have to create 100 more of us, or 1,000 more millionaires. We have to create these large deals that include all of us together to pull ourselves out of the wealth gap. And that's owning and building our own infrastructures.
Owning and building our own infrastructures. That is incredibly important. Fanbase does that. We're going to get to this others talk about digital racism and censorship, but I want people to know exactly what Fanbase is and how you do that.
So Fanbase is just my interpretation of what social media looks like through the lens of Black ownership, right? It's the same functionality as Instagram, TikTok, Clubhouse, YouTube, but there's ownership and equity in the platform, meaning Black voices aren't silenced. We aren't used as the fuel for their rocket ship. And then there's an opportunity for everybody to own a part of the company, which I think is important, even if you are not a person who is Black, but you understand that Black culture is a integral part of what makes social media very valuable. You can invest in this platform and own a piece of it. So collectively, it's just an opportunity for everybody to participate in Black culture economically and from a community standpoint.
The moment that fan base emerges is an important one. And I don't just mean right now at this moment. I mean, for the last few years, we've seen so much digital racism, digital censorship. We've seen the silencing of Black voices. As I said, it doesn't feel coincidental. It doesn't feel haphazard. It doesn't feel random. It feels like a strategy. It feels systemic. Am I wrong?
No, you're not. I think that social media was a toy, from 2004 to about 2016. And then I think people started actually consuming their news and their information through large social networks. And so people are pulling away from legacy media. And I think the establishment recognized that in a very smart and strategic way, where I think liberal voices didn't, where we were still hanging on to the voices of Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon and on legacy television. These conservative think tanks and billionaires were acquiring these companies so that they can actually control the information that is shared to the masses. And so they bought the distribution channel, and we're behind.
What is the consequence of this? Because people hear billionaire, they hear I hear oligarchy, but they hear billionaires control the media. They hear companies selling, whether it's BET, whether it's, we see these big companies, what seem like big companies, sell to bigger companies. And now instead of having 10 big companies, we got 3 huge companies, or instead of 100 companies, we got 50 or 20 or whatever. What does that mean in practical terms for us?
That just means that the ability to actually get the truth is getting filtered down to a smaller and smaller section of people. And those people are using technology as a means to determine what people see, what issues matter most to people and what don't. So I've said this before, like, if you see Charlie Kirk get assassinated on social media, they want you to see that, right? I've never seen anybody get assassinated on social media or shot like that, and it be played over and over and over again. So they wanted that to be seen, whereas opposed to if it's a violence against Black people or kids being pulled out of buildings in Chicago and zip tied, they don't want you to see that. And so if there's only 3 or 4 platforms that are owned by a select few where that information can get out, it shows the ability to squash a story about Black people being lynched and white men being executed. And there needs to be equal, footing on both of those. Those stories need to be told equally.
How does a place like Fanbase help us do that?
Well, one, I think, again, someone that is Black that is at the helm of this company does not look at Black culture as a means to an end. It looks at it as a part of the community. And so our stories can't be silenced. I don't want our stories silenced. I want the things that happen in our community to matter just as much as any other issue in any other community. So I think from that perspective, there is no agenda on my platform to silence anyone by any means. And then secondly, I think algorithmically, a lot of these algorithms are trained to elevate white creators to increase ad revenue. It's not the fault of white creators that mimic Black culture. It is the fault of these platforms that utilize Black culture to elevate white creators, so they sell more advertising because there's just happens to be more white people.
Break that down for me. That you saying a lot there.
Yeah.
White creators being elevated, Black culture being used. What does that mean? Like, and let's name some names here. We talking about places like Instagram. We're talking about places like TikTok.
Yeah.
What's happening exactly and how?
So in the pandemic, there's a young lady named Jalea Harmon. She came up with this dance challenge called The Renegade. Got very, very popular on TikTok. Another creator named Charlie D'Amelio did that same challenge. And what happens is that TikTok elevated her video to a status that made her a household name on that platform. And in 5 years, Charlie D'Amelio's net worth or her earnings have gone over $25 million, where the original creator of the dance, Jalea Harmon, has made nowhere near that amount of money. And I understand why, because again, things built by white people are assumed to be for all people, and things built or done by Black people are seen to just be done for Black people. So it behooves a platform like TikTok to elevate a Charlie D'Amelio, because she can sell Dunkin' coffee. She can sell, a jean ad. She can sell anything. You can market anything through a young white face to a larger audience of people. And that's not Charlie D'Amelio's fault. She's just the benefactor of copying Black culture and then using that to be elevated by a platform like TikTok.
So in a place like Fanbase, what does the young Black creator do? They've made a dance, they've made a song, they've made a skit, they've made a show, whatever the thing is. If they're on Instagram or TikTok, I have a sense of what's going to happen based on what you just laid out. How does
Mhm.
that play out differently in Fanbase?
Well, one, we don't run advertising. We're not built off advertising. So every single person that's on social media is in competition with Instagram and these other platforms because they make money off of advertising views, but they don't want you to have the same reach that they do. So they're not going to give you the same reach that they would give a brand, because then the brand would just use you as the conduit, which honestly, there's nothing to stop that now. Once video got added to social media, every single person on the planet became a television network, a television channel. So that means if you have 20 million viewers, 20 million followers, a million followers, you have the advertising equivalent of what a network would have with a show. So if Monday Night Football has 18 million viewers and they can sell ads for let's say $800,000, right?
Yeah.
Then if you have 18 million followers, you should be able to put on a Coca-Cola t-shirt and ad in between your show and sell that for $800,000. So Instagram knows that, so they smush you down. So on Fanbase, my instinct or my motivation is not advertising. It is actually compensation for the creator, a rev share model that gives the ability for the creator to make that money. So we're not trying to uplift one race over another to make more advertising. You are who you are, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because our new recommendation engine is launching this week. I'm actually testing it out now and getting a chance to play with it more tomorrow. But I'm really happy about what the team's been able to build, because now it's an algorithm that's been trained by Black people that understands Black culture, and will serve people content that is relevant to their liking and interest.
I love that. Now, there's going to be people who say, yeah, but let me not put the slave voice on them. That's not fair. Let me just say that I was about to. I had a whole,
Yeah.
right. But Instagram is mighty big. But there are people out there who are going to say, okay, so on Fanbase you get a larger chunk of it, but the pool is so small that Fanbase is small and not worth engaging. Why not go to the big Instagrams, TikToks, Twitter, X's, whatever, where even though you're not getting as much, even though they're exploiting you, there's a big check at the end of the tunnel, and at Fanbase, it ain't no money over there.
Well, I'd be remiss to ask anybody that's on social media. The average social media user takes over 6 months to make their first dollar on social media. There's people that have been on social media for the past 10, 15 years, haven't made a dollar from Instagram or TikTok. There are people that get on Fanbase and make their first dollar in the first 5 minutes of being on the platform, simply because you can tip on Fanbase. You can like posts, but you can love them. When you love a post, you tip a person half a penny. You can subscribe to people, follow them for free, but you can also subscribe to people the same way that people have Patreon subscriptions or OnlyFans without the pornography, but additional content that people can subscribe to exists on the platform all in one place. So you don't have to hop around from one platform to another. You have everything kind of all together in a community environment. And then that just gives you the ability to start to scale. I mean, really, there's nothing in between you and a person with a smartphone and a subscription button. And I think that's very important, because that's the future of how we're going to monetize. It's through large social networks that are connected, where every single individual on the planet is a content provider. And those people that provide the most entertaining content are going to have subscribers, just like Netflix, just like Hulu, just like Disney Plus. But they'll be subscribing to Marc Lamont Hill. They'll be subscribing to Starbucks. They'll be subscribing to Young Boy, whoever. And the amount of money that's going to accrue to people like you individually as content creators in communities, not standoff products, but a community like is massive. It's billions and trillions of dollars.
Wow. What do people do? How can people get a hold of you or a fan base? What should people do? I said, what should people do? How do people get a hold of a fan base? How do people get involved?
Oh, hold on, you dropped out for a second. Say, hold on, I'm getting a little delay. You there? There you go.
Yep.
Say
You hear me
again?
now?
Yeah.
Fan base. People want to try it out. People want to get down. I'm seeing people in the comments saying, what do we do? How do we get on it? How do they connect?
Yeah, so you can invest in Fanbase. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. The minimum is $399 to invest. Fanbase. You want to download Fanbase? We're on iOS and Android in both app stores. So do that. And then again, startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Our raise closes December 18th. So please hurry up and invest. I need to see you on the platform in the audio room too, Mark.
I'm down.
I see you sometimes on X. I need to
just let me know, brother. I'll be there. Audio room on Fanbase, I'll be there. I'll also jump on as an investor. I want people to understand that there's an opportunity here to not just join the app as a user, but to actually invest in this project and be on the ground floor of something special. Do your research, look into it. I'm not telling y'all to do it, but I do encourage you to do the research and see for yourself. And I'm going to do it. So you can take from that what you want. Isaac, it's good to see you, my brother. I support you. I love you, man. And anything I can do to help you, let me know.
Break it up a little bit. Let me see.
We got that was the great Isaac Hayes III, and yes, he is that Isaac Hayes. A good brother, brilliant brother, man. He's building something very important that I think is incredibly important for us to support. Again, you all can make your own determinations about how you want to be involved. But at least downloading the app, I think, is important. I want to move on to some other stories that we got to get to tonight, because there is some good stuff happening in the world, and there's also some awful stuff happening in the world. And I want to make sure that we cover all of it with the dignity and the care and the analysis that we do here at Night School. All right, let's get to it. Oh, you Democrats. Tensions are boiling inside the Democratic Party after reports that Senate negotiators are ready to end a record-setting 40-day government shutdown, but without securing an extension to the Affordable Care Act subsidies, which was the whole damn point. Progressives in the House erupted Sunday after Axios reported a bipartisan deal was, quote, within reach, that would reopen the government in exchange for only a future vote on ACA tax credits in December. Now, Representative Kristen McDonald-Rivet blasted the move as caving on healthcare and failing working families. She ain't wrong. Massachusetts Democrat Seth Moulton agreed and said specifically, caving now makes no sense. Representative Pramila Jayapal called the potential compromise a giant betrayal of the American people and urged her colleagues to, quote, hold the line, save healthcare. Now, there are many Democrats who echoed that frustration. Lloyd Doggett said the deal amounted to trading something for nothing. Malcolm Kenyatta from my home state of Pennsylvania mocked it as a pinky promise from Republicans. Richie Torres went even further and called it an unconditional surrender. Every once in a while, Richie Torres say something that makes sense. A crooked lick, you can get a straight lick with a crooked stick every once in a while. But anyway, despite the outcry, 8 Senate Democrats joined Republicans in voting to advance the agreement late last night, which set off what some within the party described as a kind of internal revolt. Senator Tim Kaine, who voted yes, defended his decision. He went online and said a bunch of stuff that didn't amount to much, and he got immediate backlash, with progressives accusing him and others of folding under pressure. Again, I want to remind you that this is the longest shutdown in U.S. history, and this was sort of the Democratic Party's final stand over healthcare affordability. It made sense. It was a righteous resistance. Got lots of criticism for the Democrats, lots of criticism for the plan itself, even more fundamental criticism for the healthcare system, which is not universal healthcare, it's universal health insurance. It's still financing and bolstering this healthcare industrial complex that really preys on the sick and ensures that we never get justice. But all of that aside, Democrats said, look, this is as good as it's going to get, this system, and this resistance will get us the fundamentals that we need to keep it going. We need subsidies. The ACA needs to be subsidized in order for us to give working people a chance, poor people a chance, sick people a chance. This was the plan. And they held out and they made a show of it. They made a spectacle of it. They got a lot of positive coverage. They got people who were falling off the Democratic wagon to jump back on. And then in the fourth quarter, they snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. They did what Democrats do. And that's why people like, you know, Grilled Ribeye Steak said Democrats and oh no, I didn't see that. I didn't see that word there. No, I'm sorry. What I was going to say is he said basically Republicans and Democrats suck on both sides. Forgive me for that. This is why I should wear glasses, because I would have seen a word that shouldn't have popped up. But Kismet hits it on the nose and says so many people are surprised at Tim Kaine, excuse me, in Virginia. I did it again. And you shouldn't be. Forget about the fact that Tim Kaine was Hillary Clinton's running mate, which should tell you something. Or was he? Or am I mistaken? Was that Evan Bay? No, it was Tim Kaine, right? Am I tripping? Am I tripping? No, yeah, it was Tim Kaine. I was right. It's Tim Kaine. I've always talked about the Clintons being centrist. They're DLC Democrats, right? They're centrists at best. And there's a reason why she chose Tim Kaine, and the reason why she chose somebody in a purple state. He's middle of the road. So you shouldn't be surprised that Tim Kaine made this choice. He's exactly what the Democratic Party is. They're a bunch of centrists who are masquerading as leftists, and really it's two conservative parties on a certain level. And they're just pretending to be something different. And that's the problem. That is the problem. Hey, Siri, play Folded by Kalani for the Dems, Rolando. Say, yo, Rolando, you ain't wrong, fam. Although Kalani deserves better. Shout out to Kalani, who actually is a freedom fighter. So, ultimately, we have a couple issues here. One, we have no attempt to redress or to repair the fundamental problem, which is, of course, this healthcare system. But you also have Democrats who stood and grandstanded and did all the things except bring back what they came for. I understand that some people believe that, look, it ain't getting renewed. It ain't happening. Don't keep shutting the government down and allowing people to be denied their benefits, etc. I understand that perspective. But that perspective presumes that Republicans play fair. That perspective presumes that Republicans are going to come around later and give you what you need. Even if the best the Democrats can secure is a vote, then they have failed. This is about democratic leadership. If we've learned nothing from Zohran Mamdani in the last week, it's that when you give people progressive vision and fight for it, you can win. When you speak to people's needs, you can win. When you speak to affordability, you can win. When you address, you put a spotlight, not just address, but put a spotlight on the vulnerable, you can win. And it's like Democrats, they see these opportunities to be different, but they just won't be. They just won't be different. And that's incredibly frustrating. So yes, the Democrats folded. Yes, they're disappointing. And it's these types of failures they think are going to position them better for the midterms because they seem moderate and reasonable. No, people are going to believe just what Perfectly Voiceless said, that the Dems have been bought and paid for and they don't care about their base. That's what people are going to feel. That they took one step forward and two steps back. Like Karen D said, because they are two sides of the same coin. And somebody said, oh, it was Rolando, said, anybody interested, you can update your party affiliation here. Look, I ain't telling people what to do, but there's a reason why I've never been a Democrat. It's because I can't get down with this kind of shit, man. Anyway, let's move on to another story. Speaking of these feckless Democrats and these characterless Republicans, let's talk about what's going on in the election. I know it's very early. It's 2026, almost into like 2 months, 2026. Uh, and that's not even time for the mid. That's 9 months short of the midterm, and yet people are already thinking about 2028, and they're thinking about who the next president gonna be. Well, California Governor Gavin Newsom appears to be gaining traction with a key voting bloc that Democrats have struggled to reach: young men. A new survey from the Republican pollster League of American Workers, TIPP, finds Newsom leading Vice President J.D. Vance 38 to 33% among men ages 18 to 25 in a hypothetical 2028 presidential matchup. Now, 15% said they'd back another candidate, while another 15% said that they were actually undecided. That's a notable reversal of the rightward shift among young male voters that we've seen in recent election cycles. In 2020, 45% of men ages 18 to 44 voted for Donald Trump. By 2024, that number had climbed to 53%. Now, the new poll, which surveyed 2,100 registered voters, included 1,300 young men, and it suggested that Newsom's outreach strategy just might be paying off. The California Democrat has made waves with his podcast interviews with conservative figures and a more aggressive, meme-driven online persona. He's basically fighting fire with fire because he's mocking Donald Trump and he's mocking GOP leaders, and he's doing it in their own tone. Now, despite criticism from fellow Democrats for engaging with the right, Newsom said earlier this year that the party needed to quote, get out of our own damn bubble. Now, according to the poll, Newsom's favorability among young men stands at 36%, with 32% disapproving and another 32% unsure. Now, those are better numbers in both major parties or their leaders. Now, Donald Trump, just to give you a comparator, Donald Trump's approval among the same group is 38%, and J.D. Vance's is about 34%. The survey underscores how both parties are trying to win back a demographic that is increasingly skeptical of politics altogether. And it shows how Gavin Newsom, at least for now, just might have an opening. I want to think about that with y'all just for a second. First, it's no surprise that Gavin Newsom is beating J.D. Vance. Gavin Newsom has a personality. Gavin Newsom is visible. Gavin Newsom is his own man. J.D. Vance feels like a poor man's Trump right now. I'm not saying that's all he has. J.D. Vance is very smart, well-educated, and experienced. However, he says weird shit. And he doesn't come off as the guy you want to have a beer with. Sorry, that's probably Freudian, because I was thinking about the fact that he has an actual beard, and very few Republican or very few presidential or vice presidential candidates do. So there's a lot of ways where he's out of step. So Gavin Newsom being popular, he's handsome, he's charming. Gavin Newsom looks like a president right out of Central Booking. He could have been the president on one of these TV shows, Scandal, whatever. He could have done it, right? He fits the bill in so many ways. So if you're a Democrat, you have reason to be excited that the person who is at the top of the list of options right now seems to have a decent chance at winning. However, if you actually care about making the world better, if you actually care about the issues, if you actually care about the politics of it all, this can be very distressing. Gavin Newsom being willing to sit down with conservatives and interview them and talk to them, that sounds cool. That sounds cool. And if it were merely about engaging in discourse or even making them look stupid, by debating them, I'd be down with it. But the problem is Gavin Newsom, like the rest of these Democrats, as we just saw with the healthcare shutdown, Gavin Newsom is a centrist too. Gavin Newsom is about to be the standard bearer, maybe, of a party that is moving increasingly to the right at a moment where the people want them to move increasingly to the left. So Gavin Newsom being at the top of the heap makes sense. And if among the options, he's a good one, right? If you're talking about the X's and O's of it all. But in terms of advancing in actual politics, I don't know where Gavin Newsom really stands on reparations. I don't know where Gavin Newsom really stands on universal health care. I don't know where Gavin Newsom really stands on immigration. I don't know what he says things, but one, he never truly seems straight and honest with us. but also the positions that he's articulated are mainstream Democratic talking points, which don't change the fundamental structure in a society that continues to produce this huge gap between those who have and those who don't. I don't want Gavin Newsom. I get it. I get it. You don't want JD Vance to be president. I get it. You don't want Donald Trump part 3 or term 3 by proxy, right? I get it. And if at the end of the day, that's the only thing you're thinking about, then you're not thinking enough. We are 3 years out from an election, and y'all are already making compromises. Y'all are already foreclosing on possibilities. You're already shrinking. We don't have to do that, y'all. Let's actually figure out what the hell we want and go get it. A year ago, you didn't think you could get a Mamdani in New York. You thought a Cuomo was all you could have. And look at you, sitting around with a Mamdani. Why? Because you worked, you organized, you fought, and you won. This can happen. So, yeah, and gun to my head, would I rather have Gavin Newsom than JD Vance? Of course. I don't even need a gun to my head for that. I don't need nothing. You can just ask me. But we are capable of so much more, y'all. Let's do something different. All right, y'all. One more story before we go. I need to talk to y'all about Kim Kardashian again. This weekend, I definitely shot Kim Kardashian some bail. I definitely looked out for her. I defended Kim Kardashian against people who were criticizing her for what? For failing the bar. And I still hold on to that position. Kim Kardashian, there's so many things to be said about the Kardashians, but clowning her for not passing the bar or celebrating for her not passing the bar, I think it's silly. She's used, again, as I said, all of her legal commitments or legal knowledge or legal resources. I'm talking about social capital here, making connections, talking to people, using her celebrity status. She's done it all to help get people out of jail and to reform the system. I'm an abolitionist, so reforming ain't my goal. But look, I'm not mad at Kim. I'm not clowning Kim for wanting to get into the legal arena. But in doing that, I ignored some more important stuff that Kim Kardashian's doing. It does require me to be outraged. It does require me to be critical of her. And I don't want to ignore that. And to be clear, I didn't know this information when I was responding to the breaking news of her, passing or not passing the bar. But now I got it. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about Kim Kardashian and her SKIMS business and why they're under fire. Kim Kardashian's shapewear brand SKIMS is under fire. Why? Because they announced plans to open 15 stores across Israel by 2026, a move that's already sparking boycott calls and online outrage. The expansion comes through a partnership with Irani Group, which oversees international fashion brands inside of Israel. Ironic name. SKIMS products will be soon available at Factory 54 department stores, which marks the first time that Israeli shoppers can buy the items in person instead of just ordering them internationally. Now, a company spokesperson told Jewish News the decision reflects SKIMS's, quote, measured, sustainable, global growth. But there are critics, myself included, who say that the move ignores the global boycott of companies with ties to Israel amid accusations of human rights abuses against Palestinians. The backlash comes as Kim continues to face scrutiny, not just for that, but for other comments that she has made that have been seen as sympathetic toward Israel, including a 2023 post during the Gaza invasion and ultimate genocide that she later deleted and apologized for. Online, you see the responses. People are not happy. Mia Khalifa, a former adult star, wrote, "Wearing SKIMS is such a litmus test. You either got to be bird-brained or not care." A lot of people said it was tone deaf. A lot of people said it was morally bankrupt. Let me say this. I don't know if Kim Kardashian is thinking, yeah, I know what's going on in Palestine and I don't care about it, or if she hasn't taken the time to know enough, or to think that allowing stores to open in Israel is okay. I don't assume that everybody understands BDS or understands what the ask is. But that doesn't let her off the hook. That doesn't absolve her. She has a duty to know. You can't paint yourself as a social justice advocate, as somebody who's fighting for justice, and open 15 stores inside of an apartheid state. It's shameful. You can't have a business that is thriving off of the exploitation, the extraction, the removal of Palestinian people. You just can't. You just can't. So instead of criticizing Kim Kardashian for failing the bar or whatever, how she co-parents with Kanye West, which is not my business, none of our business, we shouldn't care about it, we shouldn't comment on it. I think instead, we should be focusing on the fact that she has opened 15 stores, or she's planning to open 15 stores inside of Israel. Let me be clear, the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement is a call from Palestinian civil society asking the world to stand in solidarity. That means that we don't support any institution, any company, any business that is complicit in the exploitation of Palestinian people. Again, it's not a boycott against individual people. It's not an anti-Jewish boycott. It's about institutions that are complicit, that are involved, that are benefiting from Palestinian oppression. So that's the ask. And everyone has a duty to stand in solidarity with them if they want to be on the right side of history, if they want to be on the right side of this issue. There's not a lot of room for gray on that. There's not a lot of room for gray on that particular point. There are questions about how to execute a boycott, when to execute a boycott, etc., which I'm happy to talk about. But fundamentally, that's been the ask. For those that don't understand, let me put it in a different context. Imagine opening a chain of McDonald's inside of South Africa during the height of the apartheid movement. I wouldn't care how great someone was at home. I wouldn't care how hard they worked to get people out of prison in the United States. If they opened 15 McDonald's restaurants inside of apartheid South Africa, what would we say to them? Because that's what Kim Kardashian is doing right now. Now, they've announced the plans for it. This could be a test balloon. This could be, let's see how the public responds and let's see if we can carry this. Because I don't know. Again, I don't know the Kardashians. I literally don't know them at all. I've barely met them. I met them, but not a lot. So not enough to know their character or their intentions. But what I will say is it hasn't happened yet. So the international community has to make their voice known. They have to make it clear that this not only shouldn't happen, but that it cannot happen. We need to apply pressure so that Kim doesn't open those 15 stores, because opening those 15 stores further normalizes what's happening inside of Israel and inside the West Bank and inside of Gaza. And again, to be clear, the oppression happens everywhere. The apartheid state is all of historic Palestine, but especially in the West Bank and in Gaza, which means that we can't support Israel and allow Israel's economy and cultural life to expand and thrive at the expense of Palestinian people. So we must boycott. We must challenge the Kardashians, and we need to make it uncomfortable for them because the Kardashians are going to do what's best for them and not anything else. So we got to make it so that this isn't best for them. All right, family. Thank you. That's it for tonight. I want to thank you all for watching Night School tonight. It was a great conversation with my brother Isaac Hayes III, as well as these amazing topics. Thank you all for being so engaged and excited and thoughtful and radical in the comments section. I appreciate that all the time. We're going to keep the conversation going on Patreon. Make sure you join me over there. What I need you to do is go, I always do get this finger wrong. Yep, there we go. Go up to this QR code. I'm gonna get it right one day. Go up to this QR code right there, hit it, and join me on Patreon, or hit the link below and join me on Patreon. When I say join me on Patreon, I'm saying that we need your support to make Night School operate, to make this channel operate, to continue to give you radical, grassroots, whatever you want to call it, independent, Black, whatever qualifier adjective you need. We're trying to do it here. We're trying to not be corporate media. We're not corporate media. We're trying not to take a check from corporate media, and we won't. We're trying not to be attached to or beholden to mainstream outlets, and we refuse to be. But the only way we keep our independence, the only way I'm able to offer these kinds of analyses, bring on these types of guests, and have these types of conversations is if we have financial support. And so the best way to financially support the channel is to join the Patreon at the supporter level or above. That means it's $10 a month, and it gives you access to a lot. So first, thank you for supporting us if you do this, but also you'll get extra content. You'll get early content. You'll get extended content. You'll get there'll be so many things. You'll get to see Office Hours. We have a new episode of Office Hours that just came out exclusively on Patreon. You'll be able to get early editions of Night School. You'll also get extended Night School. In fact, right after we leave here, I'm going to do after class where I take live Q&A from you all immediately following this Night School episode. So you'll get extended content, you get extra content, and you'll get early content. All of it will happen on Patreon. I ask you just hit that link right there. Also down below, you can go to patreon.com/Marc Lamont Hill official. Use those links to get there and sign up with family. I really appreciate all the support, all the help that you've been giving. There again, there's a link right down below. Thank you, Rolando. And we'll do it, yo. Anyway, family, I will see you over on Patreon right now. What time is it? It is 11:16. I'll be over there in literally 1 minute where we'll have a live Q&A called After Class. I'll see you there. Bye.